Ugh. Oh no. Eh, eh. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's perfect. Ugh. Okay. Sorry, YouTube. I'm still trying to go over this shot show sickness that you get everywhere other than a lousy T-shirt. Um, yeah. But anyways, I'm back. Let's go ahead and start some drills. Hmm. Right. I do apologize on the schedule as SHOT Show took up a good most of it, but I do appreciate Airsoft Masters to allow me to go to SHOT Show and see the new stuff out there on the booths, such as like EMG, the Umarex, Lance Tactical, you name it. There's probably the video on there for Airsoft Master. But again, we're back to my channel, new content, something that we can't sell or something that, we can't really get as of right now. Now, if we go back to the clip on Airsoft Master side where I did a little sneak peek at EMG with Ryan, is the Gas Blowback MWS compatible Scar. If there was a way we can get it earlier and make a review. You know what? Let's just do a review. Yeah, good afternoon. As the time right now, it is 12 o'clock and the 29th. Surprisingly enough, I'm back again to do another review on something that we can't really have or not yet. But thanks to my buddy Justin, who literally got this last night during this review and hasn't even shot it yet. But allow me to do a review on the Cybergun fully licensed FN Scar Light Gas Blowback MWS compatible rifle. In fact, thought I was joking. Can you read that right there? Yeah. Okay, cool. So what's interesting is we have a Scar fully licensed gas blowback rifle that takes MWS gas blowback magazine, but is built by Cybergun. Or is it? Oh, it's modified. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. So let's open this up and start with the review. So, what do we know about the SCAR program? Well, the SCAR has an emphasis of the abbreviation for the word SCAR was the Special Operation Forces Combat Assault Rifle. So technically it would be SOCAR, but again, to make it easier, they just call it the SCAR. As what we know from the many variations of the calibrations, like the 7.62 SCAR Heavy and the SCAR Light being a 5.56 variant, and also producing a other subcompact one that we've seen is the 300 Blackout, like a mini tiny one. But a gas blowback is one thing that the new innovation needed was, in comparison to any other MWS, is an AR build. I mean, look at this one. Let's look at this one. They're all gonna be the same AR, and it's kind of boring. I'm even tired of it, and I own a lot, which you'll see down the road. But the SCAR is what makes it a very interesting difference to a normal AR build. This brings a fresh new innovation and idea for the MWS community and also the gas blowback side. While in SCARs that we've seen in the airsoft community, we've seen is the WeTech and VFC. But most likely for the SCAR Light, only the WeTech. Now, why is this such a big deal? Well, again, a new innovation to the MWS lineup. And also, I gotta admit, kind of a cool thing to see in comparison to just the normal AR. So, what do you get when you do purchase, or when you do want to purchase here in the US down the road, on the FN Herstal Scar Gas Blowback MWS Compatibility Gas Blowback Rifle. Yeah, that's a tongue twister. Either way, first thing is we have to benefit is the rail system that's on here, which you do have is your standard on the front end of the body, and not a handguard, is your 3, 6, and 9 o'clock position Picatinny rails on here. So thanks to Justin, I was able to get some of the attachments he was allowed me to use, like his tan end gall and his 553 or 556. I forgot. It's the OG classic style with using the AAA batteries, which was actually a nice touch to the Scar. Now, speaking about the rails on segments on the Picatinny, you do have as a true monolithic rail estate on the top end from the 12 o'clock position. That gives you a lot of stuff that you want to put in there, such as maybe you want to do like a recce build by getting an MREX rail on it. I would suggest so. I mean, they do look good. Or if you want to do the PMM carbine or any other attachments such as on the top, flashlight, PEC box, or even an LVPO, or even any other type of magnified optic that's out there. Again, you do have a lot of good choices out there to do whatever customization you want. But just in case, if you don't have any type of attachments or optics, they still got you covered, which they do provide you a front and rear sight. Now do be careful, as they do have buttons that you do need to push on here to help release the sight in the front and the back. For example, on the left hand side, you do have as a button that you have to kind of push forward, and that releases the front sight, and a button in the back end of the rear sight, which is in front of the tactile dial, to push it and release it forward up. Now you do have as your standard windage and elevation on the back end from here to be adjusted, just in case if you do want to use that. But again, this does deserve a lot more world class, and doing a regular optic on here would be suffice. Now when we get into the upper side of it, it is made out of a standard 6061 type aluminum that's on here, but you do have as more polymer, as again the Scar is going off of the 1:1 scale. Is your receiver is made like a really hard reinforced polymer, and the same thing can be said about the stock and the pistol grip. Now speaking about the lower, you do have is a very familiar controls on here for the AR style. Again, starting off with, you do have to rack it, so to putting on the safe, you do have it here with a 45 selector, throwing it to semi, and then full 90 at automatic. You still have your standard controls of being ambidextrous is the magazine release and your selector, but the bolt catch is still on the left hand side. Sorry lefties, but they still try to make it more comfortable as much as you can. But what makes it also very interesting is, what makes it more ambidextrous is the charging handle they can remove and switch to the other side once you pop out the stock, taking out the bolt and moving the slanted bolt charging handle to whatever side that makes you comfortable. Best part about that is, to make it more of the modernized generation of the Scars, is the charging handle is non-reciprocating, just like the real one now. And the reason why they gave you the 45 throw inside today's modern Scars, if you've seen the Scar subcompact as when they first time they ever did that, is to prevent you from knocking your quick detach optics on here, such as we do have here on the on either the L-can style ones like we've seen on there, or even like the EOTechs that we've seen for the red dots, where they can knock this thing out and scratch it and cause a big problem. So that's the reason why they went with this 45 lever down here. Again, it just is there to help prevent any other issues when it comes to cycling through in the old generations. But we don't have to worry about that no more, do we? Now that we already talked about the lower, and from here we can talk about the internal system. So why does this make it an MWS compatible rifle? Well, why don't we talk about it? So inside here, who makes the internals is the Guns Modified company, and we know them very well for making a lot of nice things, such as the high-speed bolt, the trigger box, which is very crisp, and their hop up and everything else when it comes to being lightweight and fast, like their buffer springs and everything else. As for the internals on this guy, you do still have is your standard controls for the Scar of your standard Guns Modify MWS style trigger box on here. So meaning, if I were to pull this trigger, let's see how much trigger pull we got and seeing how very close to the wall we can get. I'm at the wall already. Sorry, but that's good. Let's try that again. I'm gonna use my opposite hand, go in here, push. That's really good. What about the reset? So let's try it again. Popping back. So it's very good. A little bit of a slack, but honestly, it's fine. It's still kind of a brand new gun in here, but you can adjust the same thing as you could on the Guns Modified triggers is the adjustable on how much throw you can have underneath if you take it apart, like a standard MWS trigger box. Now, how does this help you guys out when it comes to, say for example, on parts? Well, luckily enough, either Evike or overseas in JK Army, Guns Modified trigger boxes can be bought like everywhere now in the aspect. Just in case, if we do run out of stock, they do have the parts out there just in case to sell separately. But why would you ever change your Guns Modified trigger box? Maybe if it's broken, but so far, I mean, if you keep it in well good condition, it should be good. But I have to admit with this on the internal parts, there is a drawback that I do see on here is the proprietary bolt and spring guide system. Yes, we don't have a buffer. Yes, we don't have as more of that slightly more recoil that we usually get from the weight from a buffer system on here. But internally, this does make it a lot more faster because the springs and everything else is on the top of the bolt like we normally see on a actual Scar. So why don't we test this? In fact, this is a Guns Modify my magazine that I use for my 416. Let's see how this thing sounds. Oh my God. Okay. Well, for recoil, I don't think we have to worry about that too much as it still cycles pretty hard. The recoil is still there, but it still has a lot more faster paces that we've seen in comparison to my Guns Modify Mark 18. In fact, let's test that out. Hold that thought. Right. So I wanted to do a test. Let's see what happens if we're going to do a Guns Modify versus Guns Modify. Right here I have is my Guns Modify Mark 18. Let's see how this thing sounds with the RPS. Just a little burst. Pretty fast. In fact, this is one of my fastest collection in my gas blowback. But let's see what happens if I do this against the Scar. All right, full auto, burst. So in comparison to the Guns Modify Mark 18 to its, I think if I remember calling this the Mark 16, these guys, I can tell you from the recoil is a lot less in comparison, but it's not held back in the Scar. In fact, it still does a pretty good punch in recoil. But in the speed, I can tell from here is a lot faster in comparison. I mean, let's take a look. Oh man, yeah, that's pretty fast. So far, good on Guns Modify on throughout the whole system of making possibly even a faster version of their own Guns Modify Mark 18. So, pretty good pros on that point. So, for the Cybergun Scar Gas Blowback, that is MWS compatible with the magazine, trademarks, because we all love to be kosher in trademarks. What do we have? Well, you do have is your standard of the fully licensed FN Herstal, your ones from Belgium. You do have his insignia here, and at the same time a serial number that is there with your proper calibration of 556 by 45. Again, everything that you would need it to say what a Scar should say on there. Attention to detail, what's nice also is they point towards the direction of the gas tube for the adjustment, quote unquote, with the 5.56 calibration inside the bolt charging handle inside. So again, you do have his attention to detail out there, and we do see that more often. As for the legitimacy of color, this one has a really nice dark tone of the FDE out here, kind of like what the real Scar is meant to look like. It's more flat base and it's more, shall we say, more color correct for an FDE. Now, the lighting doesn't do so well on it, but also the same thing can be said about the Scar stock. It's a little bit lighter in comparison to the polymer, but it's not as noticeable in comparison to like the early production stages. So they did fix that on here where it is a lot more darker and give it that more flow of what the Scar is supposed to look like. But again, everything in the color is correct to where it's supposed to be, just like the real Scar. Now, in comparison to the Mark 18, what we can do is to adjust the hop-up. And you're wondering, how do we adjust the hop-up on this as well? Well, this is where the very bad news comes in. We would have to take out the body pin here to pull out the whole lower receiver. Once we do that, the dial is able to be adjusted right in front of the bolt. So, how would that look? For me to do that, I'm gonna have to do some things to put this body pin out. Right, so getting to your hop-up, which surprisingly enough can't be reached on here because that would have been a lot of convenient. But again, we're talking about a proprietary system. So we look into the hop-up, we pop this thing out, we take off the lower receiver. If you look right here, you have as a rotary style dial system to either increase or decrease your backspin of your hop-up system adjustment there. So again, it is somewhat adjustable, but again, you're just gonna have to keep messing around with it all the way through to help get that perfect backspin to whatever weight BB you want to use. So do be careful. It is proprietary to a certain extent on here, as the Guns Modify has a different type of system for the hop-up chamber. Simply putting this back end goes first, as you have the little studs here, and then the body pin all together. Easy as that. Now, if it is brand new like this is, you're gonna need a little bit of a motivation to take out the body pin by using safe body pins and then tapping it slightly. Again, motivation. Of course, when it comes to the airsoft video, we can't really do a good proper video without talking about magazine compatibility. So with that being said, when you do purchase a Guns Modify or the Cybergun Scar Light, you do end up with your standard Guns Modify version 3 tan magazine for the tan one, and the black one you'll end up with a black Guns Modify magazine such as this without the cool base extension. But either way, they're both compatible to whatever TM magazine. Specifically, what we're going to be doing is we do have a standard MWS Type 89. So does it cycle through? It fits. It locks back on empty. What about the gas? So far, so good. But what interests me the most is when it comes to the EMG CGS, aka the middle child of magazines. Does it work with the Guns Modify rifle? It locks. It goes on empty. What about the cycle? Oh yeah, so it's still compatible to other magazines out there. So if you do have your EMG CGS gas blowback magazines out there, or even your regular TM styles, you have a plethora amount to have fun with your Guns Modify Scar in comparison to a standard AR M4 look that we are so tired of for the MWS lineup. Now, in regards of the specifications on velocity wise, on average, you're looking for these guys about 380 to 400 feet per second. So again, it's a good outdoor system. But just in case, this can be changed to a low flow valves like the unicorns I've seen that work very well to make it CQB friendly. And you still have guns modifying nozzles that are compatible for this that would work for your standard MWS gas blowback rifles. So again, if you want to change that out for something and make it more CQB friendly, you can do so by just changing out the valves. But enough talk, why don't we just go try and use this thing on the field or the range in the backyard. So here we are in my backyard, and well, we have the Scar. Before I start doing the range or typical drills that I have, it's probably should be known that you might want to shoot a couple rounds beforehand somewhere straight to just to hop up to whatever weight gram BBs you're using on the thing. Simple as changing is pushing out this body pin out, the back end comes off, or more like the front comes off, then the back end, and then the rotary style will be right underneath exactly what I talked about in the office. So, but yeah, so just make sure that you get this thing adjusted beforehand. I gotta admit though, it's a pretty good looking gun. Let's go have some drills. No battle belt today, but I am rocking khakis. Got to be something casual. Just really kind of sick and not feeling it. But again, the progress is matters most is doing the review for the guns modified. So let's go and do a typical box drill, maybe some reloads, see how it goes. All right. Let's do this. Box drill. And okay, action. This thing is snappy. Like in comparison to my Mark 18 guns modify, this feels a lot faster in the response. So good job on guns modify. Failure to stop. We're going with this guy. 3, 2, 1, action. Jesus, this is pretty good. Okay. Speed reload. Let's try it. Sorry, Justin, if I drop your mag. All right. 3, 2, 1, action. Ooh. Yeah. Pretty good. So I'm all the way at the end of my backyard, and it's all the way down there. I want to say it's about maybe 50 feet, about 50 feet from where I'm at to the end of it. Yeah, let's just see how this thing shoots on the range. Ooh. This thing has a lot of power for it. Okay, so some of this I've previously, like the flyers here before, was from the Surge. Didn't have time to tape it, but what I've seen so far from shooting while recording with you guys, I've been seeing a lot more tighter groupings inside here. In fact, some of it's all in this area. So if we look at the distance of it, the size of a palm, it's about maybe 3 to 4 inches. That's still pretty good on grouping. So, and we're doing this at maybe, I want to say about 20 feet, 20 to 10 feet, so like tax city wise. But the amount of power that's coming out from doing just normal, I want to say we're using propane right now, and again, for the power that's coming through this thing, it's slapping pretty hard where you can hear it on the board. It's pretty cool. And also your groupings are really good for that. So let's head this back to the office. This thing's a banger. So for the Scar, is this something that you probably want to get? Well, to answer your questions, if you're just like me and getting bored of ARs, then yeah, why not? It's a different platform. It is a unique system in comparison to the MWS lineup that we've seen from many companies in comparison to what we see as the traditional M4 or AR build at the end of the day. So it's a nice fresh of breath air. But how much would it cost to get that breath of air? Well, if we look at Red Wolf right now for the pre-order, you're looking at around $530 retail for just the gun. With shipping going to the US, you're looking around, I want to say $630. About the same price as you getting taxed as buying a traditional M4 from Evite and getting it out the door. So if you are tired of looking at a normal M4 build and want to do something different for the gas blowback lineup and you still want to use your MWS magazine, look no further. A Guns Modify Scar, which we all know Guns Modify does a really good job for a lot of their builds right out the box. Now, final advice I do have in regards of to close out the channel, time is the most precious, valuable thing in life. So go ahead and go out there and have fun. Enjoy it with friends, because you never know what might happen. But to play it safe, you know, have a beer or two, or have a soda or two, depending on who you are, and enjoy the life and try to do everything that you can, because again, time is a valuable thing. Enjoy it with friends, enjoy it with family, and enjoy the weekend. Have a good one, guys.